Alrighty, I'm finally doing this. I'm finally ending off the bracket. I wanted to do this daily, but just to be real, the reason why I didn't do it again for the reason why I pretty much had a 2 day break was because on the first day I was sick. On the second day it was Easter, so I guess happy late Easter, everyone. My family was over. I know it's late, but tell me your Easter traditions in the comments if you want to. And yeah, now and even today I almost didn't do it because I got sick again, but I'm feeling better now. And this is the last day of my break. Before I have to go back to school again. And I want to finally do this. I don't want to keep procrastinating on it, especially since this week I'm also supposed to be doing the solar opposites video, which I guess while I was sick and even during Easter, I could have watched Solar Opposites and started that video, but I'm not smart, so obviously I didn't think of that. So now I have to. Good thing it's only 8 episodes. Otherwise, it'd be really bad. But I guess to close off my break, I'm gonna do this. I will now quickly do this project, or end off this project. What I'm going to do here is simple. There are 7 rounds. The eighth one, I have now realized that the whole free space thing was dumb, and they should have just been ways for me to eliminate them because I contributed absolutely nothing. So the eighth spot here will just be I'm just going to eliminate it, and hopefully, if I ever eventually do get around to doing the other like eras of Simpsons, I'll just remember that. But then afterward, I'm just going to be taking the final 7 and just going from there, like deciding which one's the best. I know it won't be in a bracket system, but at this point, I don't care. I don't want to have to make another video. So let's get started. Round 1 is the last exit to Springfield versus Homer at the bat. Both very iconic. Last exit to Springfield, I think, is superior. Homer at the bat, like these are both top 10 episodes, so this is when it gets obviously final round when you're dealing with the all-time best. It's going to get very tricky. And yeah, I just think Last Exit to Springfield is an overall funnier episode. Millhouse Divided versus Homer the Great. Probably Homer the Great. Millhouse Divided is still a pretty. They're both great At this point, do I even need to say anything? These are both just great episodes, obviously. They made it here, all the way here. One thing in Millhouse Divided has going against it is that once it turns into a Homer and Marge marriage crisis, I still enjoy the episode, but I think it gets kind of weaker. Like it really peaked towards the beginning and ending when it was actually about Millhouse's parents. Homer the Great, I think, is a more consistent episode, hence why I think it is better. Bart Starr versus Lemon of Troy. Bart Starr is probably the best. Well, I'm not sure, because City of New York versus Homer Simpson is really great too. Well, I think that one was against Leslie Springfield in round 1, hence why it wasn't here, but Bart Starr truly is one of the best post-season 8 episodes of the show. Again, I could totally see it being in season 8, but Lemon of Troy I think is just better. There's a whole video explaining why Lemon of Troy is the perfect Simpsons episode. I think you could just watch that episode. Last Temptation of Homer versus Lisa on Ice. Both of these episodes do a very similar thing. They both have nice stories with a bunch of funny moments around it. However, I must say Last Temptation of Homer is better. Simply because I simply just prefer the jokes in it. Season 5 Simpsons is probably is just the funniest season of the show. Lisa, again, it's very close though. Homer's Enemy versus Bart Sells His Soul. These are both episodes that focus less on comedy, in my opinion, and are more on general questions. Like, what if, like Homer's Enemy, bringing a real guy into the world of The Simpsons. Bart Sells His Soul, pretty much talking about what it's like to even just have a soul and all about that. Homer's Enemy, I think, is better because I think Homer's Enemy says more about the show. Like, it's more Bart Sells His Soul feels like more of just a real question about like the real world. Homer's Enemy, on the other hand, feels more like a real, Just a question about the show, just a question about the show itself. Like, hey, at this point, how about we just get some dude from the real world? Just make a deal with Homer. You know, that's really, it's simple as that. Duffless versus Lisa the Beauty Queen. Both are funny. Duffless is funnier, in my opinion. I Love Lisa versus Cape Fear. Well, I Love Lisa has a better plot. Cape Fear is too funny, and I do think it beats out I Love Lisa. And 22 short films about Springfield. Although I love that one, it is sadly eliminated instantly. So now I have to decide between these 7. Which of these 7 is going to win? Well, I think between these 7 episodes, I think I can easily get cut off at Duffless, which is a shame because I love Duffless, but I don't think it's quite as good as the other 6 entries. Next up would probably be Homer the Great. Again, I love that one, but I don't think it's like the best. Honestly, at this point, it is getting super difficult to try to state why one episode is better than the other. It's just I find this episode slightly funnier or slightly nicer or something like that. Top 5. This is getting tricky. All right. After this, I'd probably say Last Temptation of Homer, then Lemon of Troy, then Last Exit to Springfield, then Cape Fear. Meaning the winner is Homer's Enemy. Homer's Enemy actually just is my favorite episode of the show. I've known this for a long time. I knew it going in. So now I'm going to talk more about Homer's Enemy. I mean, I do plan on obviously talking about it when I do my season review, but I guess this will be more of a snippet for now. Homer's Enemy is, in my opinion, the Simpsons, like at its most referential. Like it feels like the Simpsons making a statement about itself and how the history of the show has become. Again, Emp Lemon had made an amazing, incredible video about how the Simpsons would never I forgot exactly what it was called, but he did an amazing video on it. That again, I also recommend. Homer's Enemy, though, like at the beginning of the show, The Simpsons was made to mirror the real world, but by season 8, the show gotten so ridiculous and it truly changed what it was so much that now it was just seen as a cartoon. And then to the point where you do make an episode like Homer's Enemy, that's just like, what if we just get a guy out in the real world and make him deal with Homer? Like it's that type of thing. It's truly the show going full circle. Not to mention what it lacks in great jokes. I think it just is a really amazing story. It is a realistic story about how sometimes in life people just are luckier. They get better. They just get stuff better despite not working as much for it. And I think the funny part is that Homer has worked for stuff. It's been shown way before this episode that Homer really had a really tricky life. I mean, in flashbacks, last season had the episode of Mother Simpson, which pretty much showed that Homer's mom left him at a young age. And then you have Abe, who is just a bad father, even worse than Homer. So having a dad like that who's constantly putting you down and making you feel small, it must be horrible. And the way we was from season 2, we see his whole thing with trying to get with Marge. And then you have season 3 is I Married Marge, where he tries to get a job and is desperate for it. Then you have season 6's And Maggie Makes 3, where he finally is able to leave the power plant and is able to do a job he likes at the bowling alley. But once he realizes, Maggie's coming, Marge is pregnant with Maggie. Homer has to leave his job at the bowling alley, even though he really loved it. Homer has gone through so much, but yet now you just look at him and you think, oh, he must be a lazy guy. But since Grimes doesn't even know all that history, and then honestly, a great piece of continuity. You have the scene where Homer's like, oh yeah, I did all this stuff. Like I was with the Smashing Pumpkins. I went to space. I met all these presidents. And it makes you think, wow, this guy must have gotten off so easy. I guess more so he did now. Well, but I guess knowing all the past episodes really helps you realize that. I guess, sorry, I spaced out. I guess what all this realizes is that Homer, like, actually has gone through a lot, but now he's able to enjoy it and just thrive off of it. Whereas Frank Grimes is just bitter and angry, and the poor guy was never given a break. I think what I like about the story is that neither Homer or Frank are entirely in the right or wrong. Homer definitely shouldn't have annoyed Frank so much, but you could clearly see he isn't intentionally doing it. And as for Frank Grimes, well, he eventually does start to get really annoying with the whole "I gotta make Homer look dumb." He literally ends up electrocuting himself just because he tried to be like Homer and like show how dumb he is. But at the same time, this guy's been through a lot, so you can't entirely blame him. There's no real hero or villain in Homer's Enemy. It is just an amazing piece of television and an amazing story. And it's probably the greatest episode of anything ever. I know this is only like 11 minutes. I know this is a very short video, but I guess this is more so just a quick cap off, a quick end. Overall, I definitely have had fun working on this project. I definitely did enjoy making these. I definitely wish I did some things differently, and I wish I didn't have to, take a 2-day hiatus. But at least it's out now. And at the end of the day, I am satisfied with the final product. So yeah, Homer's Enemy is my favorite episode. And then yeah, and my least favorite episode is probably that Kidney episode. Sheesh. See you next time.